Here they come, clickety-clack down the track. It's lots and lots of trains. Two of the greatest train videos we've ever offered. You'll get FTK trains, floodgate trains, and FTK trains. Yeah, times have been tough for the rail industry, but we really don't have an out to Fallen and the Virtuous. Call 1-888-300-3455. Offer not available outside locals. Good afternoon, jank enthusiasts. I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Peeps be praised, there's more Earth Machine support. These new trains are bigger, badder, and unfortunately, facilitate an extremely consistent FTK. In the interest of not just looking at a YouTube combo 3 times in a row, we're going to take a look at the better and less snore-inducing build. Presenting Crystron trains.
I like trains.
So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course, the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Opera GX. I'm MBT, and when it comes to browsing, I'm known for one thing: my safety. In fact, I can't name a single time this week that I've viewed potentially unsafe material on my browser, perhaps even on stream. Anyway, today's video is sponsored by Opera GX. Opera GX is a browser for gamers. No, don't leave! I promise you're allowed to use it if you shower. It's incredibly customizable with thousands of mods to choose from. These can change everything from your background to ambient music, UI icons, keyboard and command sounds if you need something a little more wacky. I found this Steven Universe one that I really like. It changes based on if it's day or night. You can even pretend it's 2001 and you can put on cute little cursors. The best feature for a YouTube addict like me, however, is the video pop-out. Sometimes I just like to have a Saga episode or that one Gage VOD where he talks about MetaZoo on in the background. Opera GX creates this floating frame where you can watch it while you do important business matters. And Opera GX's split screen feature makes it easy to focus on multiple tasks at once. Turning on the split screen feature is as easy as pressing this button. And finally, Opera makes switching over just as easy as net decking from a DB Grinder video. Just, click import and, wait, do I have to do it? Like in front of people? I don't want my bookmarks to show up on screen. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Anyway, if you want to give Opera GX a try for yourself, download it from my link in the description. Once again, thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Now back to it. With that, let's toss around trains. Rank 10, and its associated Rank 5, trains are a series of Earth Machine monsters that mostly exist to give combo addicts a headache. What do you mean your combo ends on a draw too? But courtesy of a new series of cards released in Blazing Dominion, these monsters finally go in a direction comprehensible to the modern Yugist: negates. By weaving through their box friend replacement, their turn 1 schedule setup, and generic rank 5 tools, you can easily end on a winning board. In 2020. Unfortunately, breakers these days are just a little too comprehensive to shut your eyes and try to negate 6 times. Have you seen what just a single Fallen and the Virtuous can accomplish? As a result, we're splashing Crystron, which not only facilitates powerful layered end boards, but also backs up an extremely consistent Spell Canceller summon. That's right, we're just going to sit on Spell Canceller going first. Hey, remember at the start of the video when I said this wasn't going to be an FTK? Well, I was only mostly telling the truth. With that, let's get into the card by card. First up, 3 copies of Noctilucent Train Blue Traveler, who can be discarded to add a train connection or revolving switchyard from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and if it's in your graveyard, can target an Earth Machine in your graveyard, special both it and this card, and you can't special summon for the rest of the turn from the extra deck except machines. 1 copy of Heavy Knight Babel Decker, which has 500 attack. You can normal summon this card without tributing. You can only use one of the following effects once per turn. If this card is normally special summoned, you can special summon an Earth Machine monster from your hand, and during your main phase, if your opponent activated a card or effect this turn, you can special a rank 10 Earth Machine Xyz monster from your extra deck using just this card you control as material. Finally, we've got Convex Knight, which if a machine monster is on the field and this is in your hand, can special summon this card in defense, and its level becomes equal to the level of 1 machine monster on the field. During your main phase, you can send an Earth Machine from your deck to the graveyard, and this card will gain attack equal to the sent monster's level times 100. From there, we've got 3 copies of this guy. 2 copies of Crystron Sulfefnir, 2 copies of Sulfador, and then 1 apiece of Tristaros, Thistfern, Rosenix. Then our other one of Scrap Recycler weaves nicely into combos off of Urgent Schedule. Theron King Regulus is, of course, searchable, and you can get Spell Canceller when you trigger the effect of Cleafor Genius. After that, we've got the spells, 3 copies of Exceptional Schedule. This card reads you can use Urgent Schedule going first. Add a special or an urgent from your deck to your hand, then special summon a Schedule token to your opponent's field. Banish this card from your graveyard or target a level 10 machine monster in your graveyard or banishment. Send a card you control to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon that monster. 2 Urgent Schedules, 3 Crystron Inclusions, 1 Revolving Switchyard, and a Crystron Cluster for non-engine. We're on 3 Mulcharmy Fulos, 3 Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, 3 Forbidden Droplet. This deck might be the best Forbidden Droplet deck in the format, and it also might be the best Forbidden Crown deck in the format, because you can just kill them over the attack position monster. Finally, 1 Called by the Grave in the extra. We've got a Clockwork Knight, a double-handed Anger Knuckle, a Cleafor Genius, Cyber Dragon Nova, Infinitrack River Stormer, Infinity, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Then some new guys, Rail Cannon Flying Launcher, who allows you to normal summon a machine monster during your main phase each turn in addition to your normal summoner set. This is how you can get your double summon into the Spell Canceller. And if this card is Xyz summoned, you can add an Earth Machine or a Barrage Blast from your deck to your hand. You can detach any number of materials from this card, target that many spell traps on the field, destroy them. That's also your only spell trap interaction, which means you are a little soft to back row strategies. Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Rocket, which once per turn can be Xyz summoned by using Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max and discarding a card. When your opponent activates a monster effect while this card has material, you can negate it, destroy the monster, then inflict 1,000 to your opponent. And then once during your end phase, you have to detach a material from this card. Of course, we're playing Liba and Zeus alongside Dawn Dragster and Samurai Destroyer as our 7s that are not named exactly Crystron Ellie Skelly. In the side, we've got 2 Droll Lockbird, triple Perulia, a Harpy's Feather Duster, a triple tack, a Lightning Storm, a Dark Ruler, double triple Tactics Thrust, the 3rd Urgent Schedule, and the Solemn Suite. So with that, let's check out some games. Our first match is up against Mitsurugi, and man, talk about a deck that's had a wonderful couple of months. Unfortunately, it's not going to have anything to do against our turn 1 end board. Let's begin with a copy of Crystron Inclusion that will grab from deck to hand a copy of Sulfador. We will pop that Inclusion and summon the Sulfador to our side of the field, activating its effect to send a Thistfern and a Tristaros. We'll bring back the Tristaros courtesy of Inclusion into Ellie Skelly, activate Ellie Skelly's effect to grab back the Thist, and Tristaros's in order to pop it for a Sulfefnir and a Sulfador. We'll trigger the effect of the Ellie Skelly to bring back another 5 on our way to a River Stormer. Now it's time to go to the second half of our deck. We will grab a blue to hand, then activate the effect of the Sulfefnir, popping the Thistfern and the Inclusion for another 5 for Nova and Infinity. Finally, we can use the Thistfern in order to grab a... God, I wish I could pronounce that. We'll use the effect of the Blue Traveler in order to grab a copy of Switchyard, then Switchyard's effect in order to grab a Heavy Knight Babel Decker. We'll use it to get a Genius, then trigger the Genius by using the Graveyard effect of our blue. Here we'll use the Genius in order to grab a Spell Canceller, then we'll overlay for a Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Flying Launcher that grabs us another negate on our way to Smyger getting Cluster. Finally, we'll go Regulus in order to equip the River Stormer and extra normal for Spell Canceller before passing it back to our opponent. They draw for turn, and God, they can't do anything here. Down comes Lamia. They will grab a copy of Habakirki. They'll activate the effect for an Aramasa and use its effect in order to, well, eat and negate off of our CDI. From here, they'll set 3 and pass. We'll go Cluster, and let's just get rid of the Lamia so we can go to combat. We'll draw for turn, look at the grip, and activate the effect of the Flying Launcher to blow up the entire back row. We'll do that and go to the battle phase, getting in for 18, 28, 38, and 25. Well over lethal. So that's how the deck performs on the play, but what does it do on the draw? Well, considerably less, unfortunately. Our opponent for Game 2 is on Elf Note, and even though our hand looks fantastic, tailor-made for going second in a deck that historically has wanted to do so, Urgent Schedule, Forbidden Crown, Forbidden Droplet, end boards these days are so layered, I don't know if we'll get a chance to deploy everything. Our opponent's going to go for a Hyper Librarian. They will set up a line into Tiana, into Welcome Home, into Regina. Regina's going to trigger here, and they are going to summon out another Elf Note Power Patron on their way to Strelitzia, draw a card, and trigger the effect of the Regina as well. This deck gets to see so much non-engine because after you go through the Elf Note line, you have so few of your engine cards remaining in deck. Here, they'll be able to use F.A. Dawn Dragster to draw another card. Here, a Fallen and the Virtuous before committing to the Rhapsodia, bringing back a copy of the Elf Note Power Patron, and drawing another card, a copy of Effect Veiler. Finally, they're going to go for Walbaz in order to make a Psyframe Lord Omega, draw a Harmonia, and rip the Cluster out of our hand. Kind of a best-case scenario for us, if I'm being honest. They'll use the effect of Ecclesia to grab it back to hand, then discard it immediately as we go to our main main phase. We'll begin with an exceptional schedule, which gets Dragstered. We will chain Crown. They'll trigger Rhapsodia. We'll trigger Forbidden Droplet. We will go ahead and negate everything. They will prevent the Forbidden Droplet from resolving, but it's already resolved. And after resolution, we'll go for the Urgent schedule. Here we get a Scrap Recycler and a Blue Traveler, which allows us to go for a Cleave Genius and a Convex Knight. We'll go ahead and use the effect of the Convex Knight here in order to send a Heavy Knight Babel Decker. They will Regina in response in order to summon it, and we will bring it back alongside the blue into our Genius trigger. They'll go Regina effect and followed up with an Nibiru, which cleans the entire field, putting us in a really miserable position and them in the position of having Lucina. Now we can fetch and negate with our Regulus here, but they can go for the Fallen and the Virtuous and force it out. We will go ahead and negate it, but unfortunately we have nothing left to do, so we'll scoop it up. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing Branded, and I promise this isn't just because this has a 100-0 matchup into decks that use all spells. We're going to begin with a copy of Exceptional Schedule. We will give our opponent a token, then fire off the Urgent Schedule, summoning a Scrap Recycler and a Noctilucent. We'll go for Cleave Genius before activating the graveyard effect of blue, summoning 2 to our side of the field, and triggering the effect of the Genius and the Scrap Recycler in sequence, sending that one Crystron and grabbing a Spell Canceller. We'll use the effect of the Convex Knight to set a copy of Babel Decker so we can make a 10. We'll go Gustav Max into Gustav Rocket. Then we'll activate the Exceptional Schedule, targeting this copy of Scrap Recycler to cycle for the Babel Decker. We'll use the Smyger in Graveyard for an inclusion, and then afterwards we can use the Selfador to pop the inclusion and summon it to our side of the field using its on-field effect in order to send a couple of cards, one of which we can reborn off the inclusion. It's the Tristaros on our way to Ellie Skelly. We'll activate its effect in order to snag back that cluster before using Tristaroses to pop it for 2 5s and using the Ellie Skelly for the third one. After that, we can overlay for a River Stormer, activate the effect in order to grab from deck to hand a Regulus, then use the Thist Vern to cycle back a Rosenix. Sylphefnir will pitch the Rosenix to summon to our side of the field, send the Babel Decker, and then we can go for a CDI. We'll go Regulus, target this Ellie Skelly, and then afterwards we can normal summon a Spell Canceller in set 3. At end step we have to detach 1, but there's no way they're playing through this, especially with a hand of all green. They'll go to the battle phase, we'll contest it with the Crystron Cluster, and they've only got an Incredible Ecclesia and a Dream at their disposal. Look at that Balatro-ass hand. We'll negate it, and they will scoop it up. So it's time for game 2, and this time we are going second, which means we can't Spell Canceller them. Damn, we're going to have to play fair Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, we are already at a disadvantage because their cards are good. They're going to begin with a copy of Walbaz. They will use it to get an Ecclesia from deck into an Ecclesia the Dark Dragon. They'll use its effect for a Cartesia. Then Nadir Servant, sending a Titanclad and activating the Albion effect in order to cycle back into a Dogmatic Ecclesia. They will grab the Fallen of the Virtuous, set 2, and pass. Seems like a mid-end board until we get to the end step. They'll trigger the effect of the Quem, use it to send him a Courier, Albion here in order to set a copy of Branded Retribution, the Dragon that devours the Dogma to grab a Fallen of the Virtuous, the Ecclesia to add itself back, and of course the Ecclesia and the Dark Dragon returns as well. We'll go for Sylphefnir here, pitching a copy of Inclusion and then popping itself. They will Ash Blossom this, really devastating, but not so bad because we have both the Tristaros and a Regulus. They will go for the effect of their Ecclesia, we'll go Tristaros, they will go Fallen and the Virtuous, so down goes the Tristaros, out comes the Fallen of Albaz, and out comes the Therion King Regulus, at which point they can Super Polymerization, taking our monster for the Dragon that devours the Dogma. They'll trigger it and the Quem in sequence, bringing back the Mercurier, and unfortunately shuffling back all of our extension. We'll go for the Exceptional Schedule, but that plays into Branded Retribution, which means we have nothing left. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and are you sick yet of watching me Spell Canceller? Alright, we're going to begin with a copy of Sylphefnir pitching Tristaros. We'll activate the effect in order to pop the Sylphefnir and summon from deck a Sulfador. We'll trigger the effect of the Sulfanor in order to send a couple of cards, including an Inclusion, bringing back the Tristaros, who will enable us to make an Ellie Skelly. We will grab back the Inclusion and Tristaros, targeting the Ellie Skelly to bring out a couple of 5s, then activate the Skeletus effect in Graveyard to bring out a third one. 2 of those are going to become a CDI, and 1 is going to be fodder for an Inclusion setup. We will use a Sulfador in Graveyard before making a River Stormer with the remaining 5, and grab from deck to hand a blue. We'll activate blue here in order to grab Revolving Switchyard, activate its effect, and then use its effect to pitch one of our 2 Ashes for a Heavy Knight Babel Decker. Those go to the grave for a Cleave Genius, then we'll summon 2 monsters from our grave, here the blue and the Babel Decker, in order to grab a Spell Canceller before overlaying 4 Flying Launcher. Out comes a Therion King Regulus, Thist Vern effect here to grab a Smyger, Regulus in order to target this copy of River Stormer, and Spell Canceller before we set 2. Opponent draws for turn here, and they're going to begin with a copy of Ecclesia. They'll activate the effect, we will Ash Blossom it, and I mean, what do you want from here? Down comes Walbaz, he'll go to the battle phase, try to contest it, Cluster stops the battle from happening, and their entire hand is green. They'll set 1 and pass, no reason to scoop it up into game 3. We will draw for turn and just go battle. 38, 28, 18, 27. Woof. Painful. So we're back with the deck, and, well, we didn't do too much Yuging in that best of 3, but we did win it. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1. The new train cards give the rank 10 engine more splashability, more lethality, and a turn 1 board to aim for that's pretty impressive. Blue Traveler is also just a ridiculous card, getting you to full combo relatively easily. 2. The deck really does kill through Crown. If the opponent sets up a random monster and attack, you just win because your trains are so big. And 3, you can also just cut the Crystons and play a purer version that does a similar setup to the one we're playing, or can FTK. This version was just a little more interesting to show off. And the cons. 1. This deck is sort of a meta call, in a way. It can play through multiple hand traps, but the end board is underwhelming into KT if this happens. The deck basically aims to punish breaker-heavy decks, like Branded in the same way that Pure Power Patron has been doing. It does have some upsides against Patron, but they do very similar things on the play. 2, this deck's spell trap removal is pretty deep into the combo. You only get to it on your rank 10, so playing into heavy back row requires you to draw a non-engine. And 3, Bell on Blue Traveler cuts you off so much. This often just isn't an issue because the Crystron lines will just prompt your opponent to Bell a little earlier and you'll have a negate up in time, but it is an issue you can encounter if your hand's a little weak. All in all, expect this to be piloted by exactly Peeps and your DB opponent when you don't open non-engine. So that's that. These videos are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid top dollar to be mentioned at the end of this video. Here they are now. First up, Van, followed by hashtag Unban Meowmoo, Absolutely Fran, Elena Tincher, Allison Elliott, Ally, APK Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Broski TCG, Cap, Cool Name, Dark Rebel XYZ, El Gravo, Emiliano Deverio, NB Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, Galactic Joey, Hongo Porongo, Hergalicious, Jackie Z, JP, Cole Offline, Creature, Legal Rights, Lucas Rosas, Luis Hernandez, MasterKey090, Matthew M. Derezo, MBT Hablando en Español, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho, Pombo, Pyramid Artisan Field Cloths and TCG Accessories, Rancer My Thing, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Uznik, Yuki Kazami, and Zircon Sun. Couldn't have done it without you.